Hey guys, what is up? Today's video is going to be sort of a strange one. It's going to be a question and answer. I've gotten a couple of questions recently that are kind of just bizarre things to think about. I thought they would be a good catalyst for discussion. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts afterwards on them. So the first question is, what have been the long-term impacts of more and more frequent out-of-body experiences in your daily life, in your waking life? Now, I'm not talking about the feeling that you have when you get back from an out-of-body experience. I've talked about that before, and it's this positive surge of energy and this intense euphoria that you just feel all day long, and this happiness, and you just want to tell everybody about the experience, but you don't, because you know they're going to think you're nuts. And you know that fades after a day or so, and then you wait for your next experience and it occurs again. Now this is more, what are the long-term impacts as these experiences become more and more frequent? Does it cause you to be tempted to shut out waking life, to start neglecting your physical responsibilities in the real world in favor of just projecting more and more often? And so a couple of thoughts on this. First of all, I would say for me personally, I don't have a problem with this, and that is because I'm fortunate enough to actually have a physical waking life that I really enjoy. I have an incredible family. I've got a job that I love that keeps my mind engaged, keeps me learning things, but it's not crazy and stressful, and the hours are good, and at the end of the day I go home and I forget about work, and I just really enjoy waking life. You know, I do think about projection, out-of-body experiences. I think about them 15, 20 times a day. I continually come up with new things I want to add to my task list, my list of things that I want to accomplish while I'm out of body. I continue to practice every single night, and I just feel like there's a good balance. I feel like they complement each other well. You know, that being said, I will say that if I wasn't as fortunate, if I had a life that I wasn't satisfied with, if I had a disappointing job, and I just wasn't happy with life in general, I could see how this could very easily become somewhat of an escape, especially as things become more and more frequent and you start getting out of body like multiple times a week. It would be very easy to start neglecting physical responsibilities in favor of just projecting more and more often. Now, I'm not going to be the one to give any sort of advice on what a healthy balance is, you know, because I will say that regardless of whether you're using it as an escape or not, it is probably, you know, hands down, a far more healthy escape than a lot of the other alternatives that are out there. So, you know, in regards to this, find a balance that you're happy with. That's my only advice there. Just be aware that this possibly could be used as some sort of an escape if you ever got to the point where it just is frequent enough that you could use it as such. All right, so the second question is, how has it impacted your perspective of reality? So this is it's an interesting one. First of all, I've mentioned multiple times, I've re-emphasized this lots of times in videos, where I say you need to have a plan of action. You want to have a task list, things that you want to accomplish when you're in the out-of-body state. Now that's because when you're out of body, your time there is always too short. You are never going to run into a scenario where you can't get back to your body. Every single time it's going to be that you've been out a few seconds to a few minutes and you're forcefully pulled back even though you feel like you're not ready to come back. So that being the case, you want to have a list of things that you want to accomplish so that you're not just standing around wondering what to do, you're pulled back and you feel like the experience was a waste. So at least my own personal take on this. Now, thinking about this, it made me think, why do I not apply that same mindset to waking life? You know, have a task list, a list of things that I want to accomplish, because regardless of what your beliefs are, everybody is going to die one day, and at the end of the day, your life is shorter than it was when you woke up that morning. So why not have a list of things that you want to accomplish where you can look back on the day and you can feel proud that you made the most of it, that you were productive? And this sort of mindset has led me to doing things like spending less time on social media, spending more time with kids, less time watching TV, more time practicing instruments, more time learning new recipes and gardening. And, you know, all of these things that I feel like I can look back at the end of the day and I can feel happy and proud of the things that I've accomplished. Now, I'm not saying, just give up all of this stuff. I'm absolutely not against TV or social media. Here I am right now making a YouTube video. I watch TV every morning in the gym while I'm on the treadmill. I'm just saying, find a balance. Find a good balance where you enjoy life and you still feel like you are making productive use of the time that you've got. So that's been one of the insights that I've had since I started this whole process. All right, so a couple more things. First of all, now this one's kind of strange, and I know I'm not the only one to experience this because Hollywood has made a business out of making movies on this topic. But the physical world has become less and less real feeling. It's started to feel more and more, or I guess less and less concrete, I guess is the way to describe it. And I think that this is due to a couple of reasons. So first of all, in addition to out-of-body experiences, if you watch my channel, I also practice lucid dreaming. And part of that is regular reality checks. So 15 to 20 times a day I do reality checks. Something will trigger me to ask, is this a dream? And I do more than just say, is this a dream? No. Okay, back to work. All right, I say, is this a dream? No. Well, how do I know this isn't a dream? And I try to figure out, how do I know this is not a dream I'm currently in? And I ask, well, what would be different if it were a dream? What might happen next if it were a dream? And I try to really evaluate whether or not I'm currently, situated in reality. And so this, in conjunction with out-of-body experiences where there's no lapse in consciousness and I'm awake from the induction all the way through the separation, all the way through the experience and back again, where things feel just as real as they do in waking life, those things just start to make physical reality seem less concrete. It just feels like there's this continuum of consciousness, and this over here is real and this over here is real, and that maybe they're separate, but they both feel as real as each other. And maybe that's healthy, maybe that's not, but as long as I keep an appropriate mindset and act accordingly in each of the different scenarios, I think it's probably all right. But it's just one of the side effects, I think, from questioning reality every single day for the last 3+ years. All right, and the very last thing, I had contemplated whether or not I was going to share this or not, because this is a really strange thing. But I'll end with this. I'll share it. I don't know if anybody will be able to relate to this or not, but what I found, especially over the last year and a half, and I can't say for sure that this has anything to do with out-of-body experiences or, lucid dreaming or, reality checks, any of this. But I find it interesting that it's occurred during the same time period in my life. Over the last year and a half or so, I've found that I've more and more frequently found myself looking at things as though I'm an outsider, like a third-person point of view, just evaluating a situation. So to give you an example, I'll be having a conversation, or I'll be part of a conversation, let's say, with somebody or in a conference room at work where people are discussing something. And all of a sudden, I'll feel like I'm watching this conversation from a third-person point of view. Like I'm not actually part of it. My body is part of it. Everybody else is part of it. And I'm watching the interaction between everybody. And I'm not zoning out. I'm still listening to this conversation, although I may look like I'm completely zoned out. I don't know. But I'm watching these conversations, and I'm looking at facial expressions, and I'm listening to the intonation of people's voices, and I'm watching body language, and I'm listening to the words that people are saying, and I'm thinking, I'm evaluating it, and I'm thinking, it is so bizarre to be human. And the things that people do, especially with things like language, where we say things that we don't mean, and we cut each other down because it's funny, and we laugh when things aren't funny, and we use things like sarcasm, and then we use small talk because we have nothing real to say, but we want to be part of a conversation. And don't get me wrong, I'm completely part of all of this. I do all of those things. But there's been more and more times over the last year and a half, 2 years, where I found myself looking at these things unintentionally, just from a third-person point of view, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, we are so strange as humans to do all of these things, and maybe it's incredible that we are able to communicate the way that we do, but it's just such a strange feeling to find yourself feeling like you're outside of yourself and watching these interactions from a third-person point of view. So I would love to hear if you've ever experienced that, or if this is just my own nutty mind. I don't know. So that's it today. I think I'm going to cut it off there, but feel free to keep the questions coming. I would love to get your comments and get your thoughts on what we've talked about today. As always, like, comment, subscribe, help me build this community, and I will talk to you guys again soon.